Hello, Alexa here with Kelowna now. I'm getting to sit down again with Bree from Flex Academy. And crazy to think it feels like August is like flying back and it's like back to school is around the corner. So you are heading into your busy season. So Bree, thanks for joining us. We are going to talk about the inside of the day-to-day, what hybrid learning looks like at Flex Academy. So can you just do a quick intro of yourself again?
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, Alexa, and hi, everybody in Kelowna. My name's Dyck. I'm the director at Flex Academy, and we're a new school here in Kelowna. We're a division of Heritage Christian Online School, which has actually existed for 20 years. And so we're a new part of that school, and just excited to explain more about hybrid learning because it's a new concept for people. Everyone's still getting to know what hybrid means, and we did a video, was it last week?
Yeah,
it feels like
a
a
week
long
ago.
time ago. Yeah, but 2 weeks ago, I guess. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, where I got a chance to explain what is hybrid, what makes it exciting. And so I think, today kind of looking at the day-to-day would be fun.
Yeah, so can we maybe start off with the high school students, because these are the kids that are actually getting to experience the more of the hybrid style. So what's like this unique opportunity that this hybrid learning provides compared to this traditional learning?
Yeah, hybrid gets really exciting in high school. So our program for hybrid students starts with grade 6, and that's when they first start to get a little bit of hybrid in their courses. Most of their classes are still traditional, looks like regular school, but they have 3 classes that are hybrid. And once they get into grade 10, 11, and 12, students really have wide open options for how they want to do their schooling. And so what that can look like is they could have traditional courses that would be similar to how I would have experienced school, where I go to careers, I take notes in my notepad, teachers front of the room, nothing online. Other courses might be like math or science, where I'm in a hybrid course. And so that would mean that I do some of my work directed by the teacher through an online textbook, essentially. But I have flexibility on when I do that and where I do that and how I do that. But I have weekly labs and weekly tutorial blocks. So students are still getting the help they need. They're getting the best of that in-person learning, where they come together and they're actually applying their knowledge. But then they have the flexibility to work through the actual content where they want and how they want. And some students have said, I actually like working in the evenings. That's when my brain is ready to dig into content. It's not ready at 9 in the morning. So at 9 in the morning, they're still sleeping in on their flex day, but then later in the evening is when they're digging into that content. And then the third type of course that our students can take is they can actually cross enroll in an online course. So let's say, for example, a good example would be Science 11. So Science 11, there's like 7 different options. We're a small school, so we have a couple options that are hybrid, but if students want to take one of the other ones, they can. So they can actually take basically any elective. They can do German, they can do sign language, they can do French, or they can do Spanish on site with us. So if students want to have a really hybrid schedule where they're mostly online and they have a little bit in person, we can do that. If they want to have a mostly campus schedule where they're in a classroom most of the time, we can do that. And so it's really kind of a choose your own education path in high school, which is so exciting.
So cool, because when you think about it, just the shift in, you're helping kids hopefully to go into their career, like that's the next natural step, is we move into working or going to school to find another path or specialize in something. But you see now jobs are offering that hybrid role or completely remote. So you and me didn't come from this, so you're already helping them develop those skills of being able to be responsible for their own time, project management. But I think that's so cool that you're letting kids learn at their speed. And I never even thought about that, but the time of day. Like some people are night owls, some people are morning people, some people can only do a little bit of work and then they need a big break, or they want to go for a walk or do some physical activity. So that is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go back to school. Last time you said this, I'm like, I would have done so well in this program.
Yeah. Well, the exciting thing too is with this model, it's not for every kid, but
Yeah.
it gives students a lot of agency,
Mhm.
but also a lot of responsibility. And so what we see is students who are coming out of this model, they're learning skills around time management,
Huge.
managing competing priorities, making decisions about their schedule, taking ownership of their learning in ways that I just didn't see as a classroom teacher, maybe until the students were in grade 12.
Yeah.
Like that's really where that started. But when I think back to even these past couple of years, we had a student in grade 6, and he was one of our staff's kids. And in grade 6, some ups and downs, trying to manage the workload. What is this hybrid? How's it going to go? Falling behind in courses, got to get caught up, because the teacher isn't just saying, do this today, do this tomorrow, do this the next day. They're saying, how fast are you going to go? When are you going to get it done? And what we saw is by about 3/4 of the way through the year, this 11-year-old boy was planning out his time.
Organizing.
Scheduling blocks where he would go sit on his own in a quiet space so that he could focus and get his work done, and then joining his friends later.
Yeah, because we all learn differently.
Yeah, but I said to my coworker, I used to have grade 11 students that couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That couldn't think through, okay, I got to get this done. How am I going to manage my own time?
Yeah.
And now we have our students learning that so much younger.
Yeah.
But learning it in a context where there's support.
Well, yeah, that was going to be my next question. How do you guys support some of these students that are maybe, like the students that are really hybrid? Like, can you tell if a student is falling behind naturally? Like, you're like, okay, like, yes, you might be taking a little bit longer to do this, but you're like way behind. Like, how does the teacher support in this kind of way?
Yeah. Well, with Flex, we give students obviously a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But that responsibility doesn't come with a hands-off approach.
Okay.
There's so much support. And really, we see the hybrid model as an opportunity for students to learn these skills, but we don't expect them to already have that. That wouldn't be realistic for an 11-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old. They're still learning how to manage competing priorities, how to even judge how long is this going to take.
Yeah.
That's a skill that kids, I learned in university. Yeah. How long is it actually going to take me to do this? But in wanting our students to develop those skills earlier, they need a lot of coaching and support. So we actually have a position at Flex on our team called a learning coach. So a traditional school would have teachers, would be one of the main jobs, and then educational assistants would be another common job. And so in a school system, educational assistants usually work with certain students who have designated goals and supports that they're working with. Learning coaches are a unique job that we have on our team, and every grade level has a learning coach. And so learning coaches have maybe 25 to 30 students on their caseload.
Okay.
And their job is to help students track in their classes.
Okay.
And so every week they're checking in with their students. What are you working on this week? Let's look at your progress tracker. Where are you supposed to be done? How far behind are you? What's your plan? What are you going to have done in the next 20 minutes? I'm going to loop back and check in with you. And they help students build their schedule, track with their courses. If students get too far behind, then they can't have their flex days anymore.
Yes,
they're back on site. We rein them back in, get them kind of back on track, and then kind of release them back to having more flexibility. So with those supports, we're able to keep that weekly touch base on students so that they're not getting too far behind. If students are behind for 2 check-ins, then they go on an academic support plan where they're not on flex days anymore. They're back on site, caught up, and so we're able to keep them tracking and help them actually learn how to track themselves. Because that learning coach isn't going to be there forever.
No.
Eventually, students need to develop these skills that as adults we've had to learn how to develop to manage time and priorities and getting to work and managing workflows and all these things. But if you think about it, who taught you that?
I haven't, no.
Like hard lessons in life taught you.
Yeah.
So we're actually trying to teach kids how to manage their time, which is really exciting.
Well, I kind of think like this role that you're saying, I kind of think of like as adults, and you see it. There's lots of services or coaches or personal coaches or life coaches. That's kind of what they have. Like you're giving them like a life coach, kind of like someone to keep them motivated. Check-ins. What are you struggling with? How you doing?
Exactly.
Like as adults, we pay for that sometimes because we weren't taught always the way, or sometimes you just need that extra help, or parents are busy and they can't be that person.
Yeah. And a big part of the role of those coaches is really it is the academic pacing, but it's helping students get to the core of what's in the way. And so most of us, when we're procrastinating, when we're falling behind on things, there's reasons for that. It's not because we're lazy. It's not because we're stupid. Something's in the way. And so a learning coach's job isn't to just crack the whip harder, get on top of it. It's to help kids as they're growing learn, why am I not getting on top of this math? Well, it's because when I do math, I feel like I can't get it. And then I feel dumb or something.
Frustrated.
Exactly, frustrated. So the learning coach can actually get to that core thing and help the students' confidence recover, or help their engagement, or help their passion for learning, or even just re-explain the whole thing. Okay, you're not getting it the way the teacher went through it. Let's take a minute. Let me explain how I got it. It's like a floating tutor, floating life coach. And so they spend the whole year with those kids. Some of them will then go to the next grade with the same kids.
That's awesome.
So we have one learning coach, and she'll be in her 3rd year with the same group this year, for example. And
you really get to know.
She wants to grow up with them and wants to see them graduate. And so you you get that deeper relationship of me again, here in your corner. And they help those students connect with their teachers, help them have the confidence to ask questions. So it's a really great bridge building person between where a student's learning is at, and if they need help from a teacher, if they need help from another adult, if they need their parents to kind of crack down a little bit and let's get some homework done, whatever that is, there's someone watching the whole program. So it's been amazing support.
That's so cool. What do you think some of these like skills or habits you've seen students develop through this hybrid learning?
Yeah, I would say students learn a lot about themselves would be one of the things. We had a panel this past spring. So we had students present on a panel to some admin and educators from Vancouver.
Cool.
So they'd come up and they wanted to hear about our school, and we wanted to have our students talk about what's it like and what have you learned. And it was just amazing to hear their reflections around what they felt had been most meaningful for them in the model. A big theme that came up was choice. Was I like to have choice over my own decisions, and I like to see the benefits and also experience the learning from those choices, instead of having such a narrow scope of control and then students not really feeling the impact of the benefits, that they have more flexibility, they can take on more opportunities, they can be a part of clubs, they can have more freedom, or the consequences of now I'm in a roadblock and I got to stop and get things caught up, or now I'm getting on an academic support plan. So I think the choice enables students to develop a lot of the internal skills of learning that a really structured classroom doesn't force. It lifts all of that responsibility from students. If the teacher is reminding you about everything, you don't need to learn a way to keep your own reminders. And so that responsibility and agency really causes the internal learning to happen for kids.
Well, it's just also they're getting to experience life almost, like where traditional school, you go to class, you're late, you can't leave this, you can't move, you're stuck. And sometimes that doesn't work for everybody.
No. And it doesn't happen after the second you graduate. Never again. And I think, if we look at a university, students are picking their own classes. It's their responsibility to track with the classes.
It's your responsibility to show up.
Exactly. You don't, you fail. All these things are theirs. So they go from an environment that's completely structured and built for them, And then if they go to university, all the responsibility is suddenly theirs.
Suddenly a lot.
It is. And I think that's where we see kids experience a lot of that shock when they first start university of, okay,
or have to juggling work and some school.
Absolutely. So trying to move that skill set down into those earlier years just gives them a chance to learn in an environment where someone's going to catch them. In university, there's no learning coach. There's no, your teacher's not going to phone your mom and say, hey, I'm concerned about so-and-so's progress. At least in high school, they're learning all those skills, but in an environment that's really committed to caring for them and seeing them grow those skills.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What are some tools and technologies that you guys are using, like educators are using to help some of these kids? Like, obviously, maybe you're using Zoom. Like, do you have anything different that you use? Or
yeah, that's a great question. So our school, HCOS, we have a whole part of our school that builds and develops curriculum that's online. And that part of our school is called Study Forge. And so all of our students are in Study Forge courses. And what's really neat about a Study Forge course for their hybrid classes is, let's say it's science and it's a really engaging platform. So there's videos that are all animated. You can click through pop-ups, different kind of visual animations. So it's like a textbook that has some flair.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. But what's really neat for the teacher is, as a teacher or as an admin, I could go and see, did the student watch the video? Did they click through the lesson? So when they come to the teacher and they say, I don't get it, as the teacher, you can look and say, well, you didn't watch it.
Yeah, like you can't tell if a kid read a textbook or like read chapters.
Yeah, or reviewed the material or just copied it off their friend. Yeah. But because of the analytics built into the program,
like the data behind it.
Yeah, there's all this data available to teachers. So they can say,
she watched it 12 times.
Yeah. So then I can tell you really tried. Thanks for putting in the effort. Let's go through it together, as opposed to students who just click through and are trying to kind of skim the surface. So
get to the next.
Exactly. So Study Forge has been a really exciting platform for our students to use. And then, we use a software called Brightspace, and so it'll be similar to kind of a Google Classroom. They can see their due dates, they can see what's coming up next, but helping students consider, we all have different ways we manage our time. So is that reminders in your cell phone? Is that a paper agenda?
Good old school agenda.
Yeah. Is that a calendar? How are you going to see what's coming, what's happening, what do you need to work on? And that's a process for all of us. But our teachers really work on exploring those different technologies with kids so they actually have something that works for them. We start them off with the paper agenda, but then that can move to a spreadsheet. That can move to alerts that you're getting in your calendar. All these different things are available. Which one the student chooses isn't as important as, are they using it and is it working for them? And so honing in on the different options, and certainly, AI has given us tons of different options with that too.
So many.
Yeah, and that's been really helpful as well. We have some of our students that, for example, I think it's called some Gremlin app or something like that. Where you can take, I need to get this done, and it gives you steps. So you pop your task in, and it'll give you, here's where you need to start, here's what you need to focus on. And so for students who are struggling to break down a big thing into small things, using technologies like that to help them practice, so powerful and helpful.
Yeah, I would say for kids that might struggle with something like that, it can be overwhelming. You have so many things to do. You just like shut down and you start to procrastinate because you don't know which way to zig. But if you take small steps, eventually you're like, oh, wow, I did it. I'm done.
Yep. Yeah, and helping them take that whole gamut of, I have 8 courses, I have homework in all of them,
where do
all
I
of it's
start?
coming at me, where do I start? That overcoming that little hurdle is a lifelong, in my yard, in my house cleaning, in my job, in my workflow. And that's where a lot of us get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes practice to develop the internal skill to do that. And so we see this model giving so much practice to students that's going to translate into every sphere, into any job.
Yeah, in personal life.
Exactly, and personal life. Yeah.
Running around with kids and stuff like AI and stuff. I don't have kids, but I'm like, okay, well, like a calendar, reminders, like you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you think teachers keep that like personal connection? So the kids that I think especially are very hybrid, like, I mean, you do want to see your students. You do want them to have those like in-person connections still.
Yeah, our school we had staff say, you can't swing your arm in this school without hitting a loving, caring adult. And so what's neat is the hybrid model. One of the benefits we haven't talked about is it creates some financial efficiencies in how we do hiring, which allows us to actually hire more staff than a traditional school would be able to afford. So we have in our classrooms, there's that teacher, there's a learning coach, there's sometimes even 2 EAs. Nice. So our ratio of adult to student is like 1 to 8,
which
1
is
to
huge.
10. It's amazing.
Because like traditional class is like 1 in 35 kids or something.
Yeah.
And you don't have an EA or anyone.
Yeah. So there's so much support. And then having the time to do things like clubs allows for those interactions you have with a student in a classroom still happen. You've got kids in their labs, kids coming to tutorial, but then you have exploring, you have play, you have fun experiences with those students too. So we've actually seen that while there might not be as much contact time because kids are sitting in front of you all day long, the richness or meaning or depth within the relationships is so much well-rounded because you're having those informal connections. It's like, I don't know if you remember in high school going on a trip with a teacher. You get to see a different side of their personality and engage with them in that outside of class actual relationship way. Our students get that all the time instead of just, Mr. So-and-so at the front of the room working through the content. The other really cool thing that we've done at Flex is all of our students, grades 6 to 12, have a mentor. And so kids starting in grade 6, they can pick any staff member. Could be an office secretary, could be an admin, could be a teacher, could be an EA, doesn't even have to be their teacher, could be the athletics coordinator, whoever. And that's somebody that they just have that mentor relationship with. They go for coffee, go for a walk, just check in. How's life? How are you doing? How are your courses? And it's been an amazing way that we've been able to care for parts of students that sometimes school systems miss. If you're just moving class to class to class, who knows about how your gymnastics is going and how stressed you're feeling about it and how much you've been working at it or how your sleep's been and you're struggling to sleep or your relationship with your sister. All these kinds of things that are actually a big part of teenagers' lives. And it doesn't have to, counseling and these things are super important, but some students just need someone to chat with. And so
be heard or
exactly. So the mentoring piece has been another way that we've been able to, again, with time, have deeper, more intentional connections with students.
That's huge.
Yeah. Been awesome, and the teachers and students love it. Like it's
like it
fun.
gives both like win-win.
It's a win-win. Teachers also want the chance to kind of take off the front of the classroom hat and just
like
connect
I'm a
with
person
kids.
too.
And I was a teenager. And I remember some of these things.
It's hard and no, that's so cool. Someone asked me not that long ago. They're like, I was like, one of those questions, like, what do you wish you did like 10 years ago? Or what would you tell yourself 10 years ago? And I was like, I would get myself a mentor earlier. I think mentorship is huge. It's having that extra support. Again, those cheerleaders, those people that you might come or hit a roadblock and you're like, I can't do this by myself. Or maybe you would have had an easier path if you just talked to someone about it. So I think that's incredible.
Yeah, it's been great. And you know, I think teens, it's normal for teenagers to kind of drift from their parents a little bit and test the boundaries in those teen years. But having other adults
Well,
to
doesn't mean they
them,
don't want to hang out with other adults. They just don't want your mom and dad.
Exactly.
Or listen to mom and dad.
Yes. So you have other voices in that stage of life to contribute to that. Because, I mean, when I think about maybe the last 3 years of my life, not a whole ton of formative things happened.
Yeah.
But high school, those 3 years, those memories go deep.
Yeah, they stick with you.
They do stick with you. They're really formative years.
Well, yeah, and they kind of change, or that's who you kind of are, or shape you, unfortunately. And some people have had really hard high school years where they can't get out of that.
Exactly. It's so formative. And so sometimes families can think, oh, it's just 3 years, but it's actually a really important 3 years for who a person becomes, for where they head to next, for what they engage in. So all these things from learning coach, life coach, mentorship, choice, options.
Still having fun,
still having fun and adventure, and actually having more of that, hopefully.
Because you're going into the adulthood, but it doesn't mean that it has to be all like deadlines of work and
and I think in those years, students are still discovering, what am I even into? What do I even like? And so sometimes it isn't until they join that art club. I had a student where hadn't been into art at all, and then ended up joining, I don't know, some initiative, and was doing pointillism art, which is where you do the tiny little points, and got so into it and was phenomenal at it. But when would he have known that unless he tried something new? So helping teenagers not just do the things they love, but try new things is also so important, because sometimes you don't know what you love until you've tried it.
I feel like adults need to go through these 3 years again.
Yeah,
we all need to go back
to hybrid. Do 3 years of hybrid education.
Yeah, and go try some things.
Yeah, have a learning coach, have a mentor, try again. Absolutely, I love that.
It just sounds amazing. Okay, do you want to add anything? I think
this is great.
I mean, you and me could talk about. I think it's so cool. I encourage you, if you have questions about Flex Academy, if you're thinking, maybe your kids are struggling, and maybe that's like the perfect time to have them move over into a hybrid role, and maybe they'll have success.
Absolutely. Or if they're bored. Yeah. If they're tired of waiting around and they want to just move through it, get going. Yeah. That's the beauty. We can do the span.
But I also like that in our other video touched on, like, you can have, like, parents can go travel and your kids can still be doing school. These parents that might have to work really remote, maybe you can take them with you this time on trips and stuff like that, so they can experience that as well. So, okay, Bree, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for sharing all the knowledge on the day-to-day and what a hybrid model looks like. And then we'll get you on again in a few maybe months.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Alexis.
Have a good afternoon.